Hey guys, welcome to lesson number 16. Today we're going to move on with area, and we're going to talk about area of triangles and different quadrilaterals. A lot of today is review from what you've done in the past. We are going to add on kites or a rhombus and how to find area of them. We're leading into being able to find surface area and volume. So to be able to find surface area and volume, we have to know how to find area of two-dimensional shapes before we can move on to three-dimensional shapes. So like I said, some of this is review, so I'm just going to put this on here so that we can talk about it and review it. First one is a triangle. So again, that is review. That is something that you've done before. 1/2 base times height, or some of you have maybe seen base times height divided by 2. Okay, so this is the same thing as base times height divided by 2. Remember, the main thing with this here is that your height and your base always form this right angle. Okay, so no matter what kind of triangle it is, whatever you're calling your base, whatever you're calling your height, they have to form that right angle. Parallelogram, simple, base times height. Okay, so remember, here's an example of a parallelogram here. Remember, a rectangle is also a parallelogram, so it's simply base and again times height. So again, base times height, base and height form this right angle. This side right here is not your height because it's not a right angle right here. Okay, so they have to form that right angle. Rectangle, simple, length times width, or if you want to call that base times height, same thing. Remember, with a square is a rectangle, and so we could use length times width for a square. However, we know on a square that the length and the width are the same. And so what we say there is simply side squared. Okay, so it's length times width, which we know length and width are the same, so it becomes side times side, which is the same thing as side squared. Trapezoid. Okay, here's an example of a trapezoid. Remember, a trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides. Remember, on a trapezoid, we call these the bases. Okay, and so you're going to notice here we call it base 1 and base 2. So area of a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. Again, you've maybe seen this as base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times height, same thing. Multiplying by 1/2, dividing by 2 is the same thing. So if we look at our picture here, the bases are parallel sides, so you take one base plus the other base, divided by 2, and then again, your height is always perpendicular to the bases. Okay. Perimeter, remember perimeter, no matter what kind of shape you're doing, perimeter is simply adding up all the sides. Now, the new one that we are adding in today is a rhombus or a kite. With a rhombus and a kite, the formula is the exact same thing, no matter what. If it's a kite, remember that these sides are the same. So this side's congruent to this side's congruent to this side. With a rhombus, all four sides are congruent. Okay, and so for these two shapes, again, they are the same formula. It's D, so diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So we're going to take the entire length of the diagonal times the entire length of the diagonal and then divide that by 2. Same thing here. You would take this blue side times the green side and then divide that by 2. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do some examples using these different formulas, and then you guys will have some time to practice on your own. So first one, triangle. Okay, we have two different types of triangles here. So remember, for a triangle, 1/2 base times height. So again, remember the base and the height have to form the right angle. So the only two sides that we have here that we know form this right angle, not sides, lengths, is this and this, because they form that right angle. So here's my base 12, my height's 4, so my area is going to be 1/2 12 times 4, which is going to give me an area of 24. It doesn't give me the units here, so we're just going to say units, and then remember area is always squared. So units squared. Again, over here, all right, if we're calling 7 our base, the height has to form a right angle with that base. And so the length that we have that forms a right angle, so it extends out outside the triangle. Remember here that what we're finding area of is just this part. This part over here is not part of the triangle. And so it's going to be 1/2 base, which is 7, times height. Well, if I look at this, I don't know what my height is right here. Okay, so we're going to have to find that height on this problem. Well, if I look at this additional little triangle, blue triangle right here, it's a right triangle where I know this is 3 and this is 5. Well, we should know by now how to find this missing piece right here. We simply do Pythagorean theorem. So that gives me x squared equals 16, which tells me my height over here is 4. So you're going to have to use some Pythagorean theorem we've done in the past to find that missing piece. And so 4 is my height. So 1/2, 7 times 4 gives me 14, again, units squared. Okay, so that's for a triangle. Rectangle, we've done this in the past. You've done this a lot. Okay, remember a rectangle is simply length times width or base times height. The only difference with this problem here is this isn't a rectangle right now. Okay, but we can split this to create 2 different rectangles. And then what we need to do from there is simply find the area of each rectangle and then go ahead and add those areas together. So the first one that we're going to do here is we can simply find this area of the rectangle over here, which is just 24 times 12. So that gives me an area of 288 feet squared. And then I can find the area of this over here. Well, we know this is 32. Well, I need to know what this length up here is. Well, if I know the whole thing is 40, take away this 24 that we have right here, that tells me that this piece up here has to be 16. And so to find the area of that, we're going to take 32 times 16. We're going to get 512. And then we simply just add 512 plus 288. And we're going to get our area of the whole thing to be 800. Now we know it's feet, so feet squared. Okay, so if you have this irregular shape, you just need to section it off so that you get shapes that you know and then add them together. Parallelogram, remember a parallelogram we simply said is just base times height. Remember the base and the height have to form a right angle. So if I'm calling this 15 my base, the height has to form a right angle. So it's not this side over here. It's this piece that forms that right angle. So 15 times 5. So we get an area of 75 centimeters squared. Okay. All right, let's do 4 more examples and then we'll be done. So first thing I want to look at here, trapezoid. So remember trapezoid, 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times whatever our height is. So for us, they give us all these pieces here. So it's simply, again, you can do 50 plus 32 divided by 2 times whatever our height is. Remember order of operation, find out what this is first, and then we'll simplify and multiply by 20. So we're taking 50 plus 32. We're dividing that by 2. We get 41. 41 times 20 should give us 820. Again, it's area, so meters squared. Over here, we have a kite. Okay, we have a kite. So remember, kite is diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. And so for us here, let's call this diagonal 1. So 18 plus 10 gives me 28. We'll call this diagonal 2. So we get 24 plus 24, which is 48. And then we're going to take that answer and we're going to divide it by 2. So 28 times 48, divide that by 2. We get 672 feet squared. Okay, I want you guys to try these 2 examples here. Once you're done with these two examples, pause your video. I'll have the answers there for you to check. Okay, go ahead and check your answers here. On the first one, you have to use Pythagorean theorem to find the height, and then it's simply base 20 times height 12. Second one, we need to section it off into a square and a triangle. The square, all the sides are the same, so it's 22 squared, or 22 times 22. The triangle, I took 42 minus 22 to get the height of 20. So then it's base, which is 22, times height, which is 20, and divide that by 2. All right, go ahead and do practice number 16.